What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Heat Check Podcast. As always, joined here by my co-host Joey. Got a big week of the NFL to roll into, but before we get started, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Turn notifications on so you know exactly when we upload. Let's roll right into Week 11, starting off with Thursday Night Football. We said we were going to have a huge slate of games, really good games, and we did have exactly that. Arizona, Seattle. Kyler Murray looked like he got a little bit banged up. Actually, he dealt with some sort of shoulder issue, kind of threw him off that night. He is going to be questionable this week, but it does look like nothing's going to be holding him back. Seattle looks like they are going to be taking the lead of the division. I thought this game was going to be more of, hey, whoever wins this game is probably going to end up winning out the rest of the season, or at least just lengthening that lead in the division. But the Rams, they won their game against Tampa, and we'll get into that later. But they won their game against Tampa, so now that division's pretty much neck and neck. I mean, who do you see as really the leader? And could you see the Rams coming back up out of nowhere and taking the lead?
With that performance last night, man, the Rams looked really good, offense and defensive wise, playing against a good team too. So I really can't make a choice in that division. It's so hard. We said Cardinals last week. Now we're kind of leaning towards Seahawks, Rams. I mean, it's a
I
very
would
competitive division.
I would love to see the Rams really poke their heads up because, this is a Rams team that I thought their roster last year was better than it was this year. I just feel like this year they are better coached. They have a little bit more fire brewing. And, I really do like this Rams team this year. And then Baltimore, Tennessee. I picked Tennessee. I don't know what you picked. I believe you picked Tennessee as well.
Yeah, I think I picked
We
Tennessee.
both picked Tennessee. People were calling this an upset. I don't think so. Tennessee is a very good team this year. And Baltimore now falls down to 6-4. Derrick Henry continues to tear this team apart. Funny enough, the Browns now have a better record than Baltimore. So, it's starting to get to the point now. Browns have a 69, I believe what I read, 69% chance of making the playoffs. Could you see Baltimore getting knocked out by Cleveland? Because Cleveland does have, I believe Baltimore does have a better schedule throughout the rest of the season, but Cleveland's been playing really good ball.
Have they played twice yet, or do they still get to play one more time against each
I
other?
still think they play one more time against each other.
Um, I think Cleveland's a better all-around team. Ravens have had a really bad offensive struggle for a few weeks now, maybe even more than a few weeks. Like I said last week, Lamar's receivers are not helping him out. Any of his targets aren't helping him out. J.K. Dobbins really shining though, but I think he got COVID actually this week, which is pretty sad.
Both J.K. Dobbins and Mark Ingram caught COVID.
Yeah, he's been playing really good though. That's pretty sad to see that he's gonna have that streak of games that I think he's gotten over 102 games in a row. That might be snapped.
Yeah.
Because of COVID.
So, and that was one of the big takeaways I wanted to get from Baltimore was how are they going to involve this rookie? And the rookie has been looking really good. And also Dez Bryant. I love to see that Dez Bryant got a good amount of targets. He got about 6 targets, I think 4 receptions. He's being used in this offense a lot more. And I'm just saying, you got a big guy like that. Lamar Jackson needs a red zone threat. And, Marquise Brown, I said Marquise Brown, I thought he was going to be a little bit more of a trending up. But, Marquise Brown is just not good recently. So Dez Bryant provided some much needed help, but it wasn't enough to get the lead or the edge over Tennessee. Next up, Green Bay versus Indiana. A great game. Went into overtime. Indiana, I've loved them from the beginning of the year, but I didn't know they were going to be this damn good. Their defense really is shaping them together. I thought they were going to be at 10-6. They might look like to finish 12-4, 11-5. Indiana looks great. Green Bay, on the other hand, seems like every time they go up against a really tough opponent, they just can't seem to get it done. Yeah, it was an unfortunate fumble at the very end by Valdez-Scantling, but you gotta make sure you ask the question. I said this was going to happen to the Steelers when they come around playoff time with how they've looked against certain opponents. They're going to get exposed. They're going to get exposed a lot earlier than people think that they are. And same thing could go for the Packers. What about you?
Yeah, I like that take with the Steelers and the Packers. Getting to the Steelers have had an easy schedule. Same with the Packers, I believe. They haven't had too many tough opponents this year. They did blow that lead bad. I'm pretty sure Indiana came back from a 20 or something lead like that.
I don't think
Indiana
it
was
was that
down, they
big,
came
but they
back.
did come back.
Yeah, they look pretty good. Indiana continues to impress. Green Bay, I'm not giving up on them, obviously. They're really good, but I'd like to see how both of those teams end up finishing. And I just want to say, looking back on these games, we were blessed with a week of football this week. Every game was good, especially those primetime games and those 4 o'clock games with the Cowboys and Vikings and stuff. They were all great.
Speaking of the Cowboys Vikings, let's roll right into it. My boys got a dub. Zeke looked fantastic. 103 yards on a night. I mean, that's not fantastic, but that's his first 100-yard game. I don't know if it was some sort of hamstring issue that he dealt with or that was revealed in Pittsburgh. He still played through that, but I don't know if that was what was holding him back. But we moved Zach Martin over to right tackle, and that looked phenomenal. Zeke played amazing. Andy Dalton didn't look like utter and complete trash. Hell, Kirk Cousins played a phenomenal game. Justin Jefferson looked like he was about to have a great game until he basically lost that game for Minnesota. Thielen had a great game. It was probably one of the best games of the week. There was just not a dull moment. Dalvin Cook looked great. I thought he was about to get injured by Donovan Wilson. What are your big takeaways from this game? Really about Dallas, because now, once again, NFC East, Minnesota looked like they were coming back, looking like they're about to take over that game because they have been playing great recently, but their defense really did sell them. Biggest takeaways here from Dallas.
Biggest takeaway: the defense still sucks. The offense looked a lot better than it usually does. Run game looked better. I think that was a good move putting in Martin at the tackle position. I didn't watch the first half of the game, but I did watch the second half. That was CD played great. He's emerging as a wonderful receiver. Thielen and Jefferson still making a statement for one of the best receiver duos that there is in this league. They're both playing amazing right now, and can't say much besides the Cowboys stepped it up, and they're looking maybe they can win this division if they keep this up.
Yeah, I do really want to give a big thing, really just a big old shout out to Van Der Esch becoming just such a beast for that linebacker core. DeMarcus Lawrence has really stepped it up this year, and a Donovan Wilson emerging out of nowhere, and he has been a stud for the past couple of weeks, creating turnovers, and he really has been a menace. Getting into Sunday Night Football, Kansas City versus Las Vegas, another fantastic game. This was a high scoring, really up to the wire game. I said Kansas City was going to pull out, and they did. 35-31. Travis Kelce wide open. I don't know where in the hell people thought he was going to go, besides from the end zone. But Kansas City looked great. Las Vegas, they still played a great game. I think Josh Jacobs, more specifically, the thing I wanted to take a look at is that they are starting to really just put a lot more trust in him, even though there was like a lot of drives in there where Devontae Booker just had 100% of the snaps. I really still don't understand that, but Devontae Booker has done good with those snaps, so I kind of understand it. But I mean, yeah, this Las Vegas team looked great. Kansas City looked great. I mean, could you see Kansas City winning out? Because they only have one loss on the year, and it doesn't seem like anybody else could beat them. Could you see Kansas City only keeping that one loss?
Absolutely, and they're turning into maybe my Super Bowl favorite again. From the beginning of the year, I did change it to the Bucks, but they're looking like an unstoppable team. They did lose to the Raiders first off. They came back and beat them. The Raiders did look good though. I mean, Derek Carr with the game-winning drive, what we thought, and then Mahomes came down with a minute, and they just ended the game. But that's Mahomes. We gotta look at the Raiders too, man. The Chiefs did with that game, but the Raiders did look really good for what they are, and I think that they can end up making a playoff run too if they keep this up.
No doubt. It warmed my heart to see my boy Jason Witten almost clutching that game up for Las
Yep.
Vegas. But and then finally, Los Angeles, Tampa, mentioned it earlier, but we said it. Los Angeles looks phenomenal right now. Cooper Kupp, huge game. Robert Woods, huge game. Tom Brady, once again, he threw it away for them at the very end. Interception on the very final drive. Just completely. I don't even think they were in the red zone when he threw the pick, too. He just completely threw that chance away. Los Angeles' defense continuing to prove that they are one of the elite in the league. They have one of the best secondaries in the league, and that's really because of Jalen Ramsey. He has been playing up to competition every single week. And yeah, I mean, there's pretty much nothing else to say. But for Tampa, though, I mean, we were saying that, yeah, Saints, Tampa, it's going to be between them. But this is another loss for Tampa. This is a really bad little stint that they're on. I mean, they beat Carolina, but that's Carolina. This is a bad stint that they're on. That lead for the division is getting further and further away. And with guys like Arizona and Los Angeles still existing, even if Seattle wins that division, we could very much well see both of those teams taking up a wild card spot. If Tampa keeps on going down this path, it does not look good for that final seed spot because there's going to be other teams in there that are going to be hungry. So I really do want to hear your take on this. With how Tampa has been playing and how much they have choked, could they get knocked out just by the NFC West alone?
Absolutely. You can't ever get caught sleeping. I know everyone was hype about them. They were hype about themselves, playing
We were
wonderful.
hype about them.
Yeah,
We favor them.
yeah. I thought they would win the Super Bowl, but it's not looking like that anymore. I mean, I'll still say that because they have Brady, but Brady is just not himself anymore. Two terrible games. I mean, he played really well versus Carolina. That game was good, but it's not one of the games that we need to look at. We need to look at those games where he struggled to beat good teams. And that's just, if that continues to happen, then that's just not a good look for Brady. But I don't think they're going to get knocked out. I really want to see them make a playoff run. I think if they can get in there, that they can clutch up a few games.
And no doubt. But I mean, hell, Taysom Hill might be a menace for them. I mean, he played great this
Yeah.
past week. Getting through some of the big things before we hand out our awards for the week. Of course, Thielen going back onto that Minnesota game. Thielen got COVID. No guys from Dallas, fortunately, have been diagnosed, but Thielen, alongside other guys, have been put on the reserve list. They are not expected to play this week. And of course, Eddie Jackson as well. Big loss for the Bears defense. He got put on the COVID reserve list. So definitely going to be eyeing on that Chicago defense because that is a huge cornerstone for them. And another thing I did want to point out, Carson Wentz. What in the hell are you doing, bro? Joey over here ranked him in the top 10. I'm not going to dog you on that because before then he was arguably a top 10 quarterback. But the fact that he was even argued to be better than Dak at this point is fucking outrageous. You need to take that back right now because the way Carson Wentz is playing, I mean, there were seasons where last season everybody's like, yeah, he doesn't have the biggest plays, but at least he doesn't throw too many interceptions. I think he only had like 4 interceptions. It wasn't a high number last year. He didn't have a lot of interceptions. 1 year later, he leads the league in interceptions. That's crazy. That's not like Carson Wentz. And you can blame it on the O-line all you want, but you have been blaming it on bad talent, Eagles fans, for weeks and weeks and weeks. You have Alshon Jeffrey. He's back now. Travis Fulgham has been a stud. Greg Ward has even been serviceable. And Carson Wentz still can't get it done. I mean, I'm sorry. Bench Wentz. Do you think they should do it?
Yeah, I think so.
I would love to see Jalen Hurts go out there and see what he can do because he brings that extra air of mobility to the Eagles, which they don't have with Carson Wentz. And why do you need mobility behind in that pocket? Because that line sucks. You need it and create some doing that. He cannot read a defense to save his life. Browns absolutely put on a clinic against him. But yeah, I mean, especially it's a Monday night game though. Like when you look at it, they play Seattle Monday night this week. Could you see them benching Wentz and putting in Jalen Hurts on prime time though?
I would love to see it. I think that would be a good move. Your fans would probably love it. Eagles fans would love it. I mean, just get somebody fresh in there. Get rid of this bad juju, man. See what he can do. If he fails miserably, if he somehow plays worse than Wentz, I mean, throw Wentz back in. I think the Eagles are the worst team in the division. After watching that entire game versus Cleveland, I saw it firsthand that the offense might be the worst offense we've seen in a long time. I just saw Wentz get sacked over and over again, throwing picks, throwing blind reads up to like linebackers picking him off and stuff like that. It's just a sad situation for Philly. They got to get it figured out somehow.
And constantly, what I keep on saying is the only person who can save this offense is Miles Sanders. And what do they continue to do? Not use him enough in the pass game. Put Boston Scott in. Miles Sanders is a beast. He is one of the most effective, really efficient. I believe he's below Nick Chubb, but I believe he's second in yards per carry in the league. That is not something you get with every running back in the league. That is a guy who is a workhorse. And yeah, you're giving him a lot of carries, but he can only do so much. You got to make sure you drive down the field. At least use him in the passing game. Pass your receivers. Put in another quarterback. But and then of course we got to address tragedy over there for Cincinnati. Joe Burrow, ACL, MCL, and other tissue. I mean, it was just horrible. I was wondering that they didn't show Burrow's injury because there's been so many injuries. But the best shot I could see, I mean, his leg looked like a V. I understand why they didn't show that injury. I mean, it was horrible. The best shot that I could get of it, it looked horrible. So it really just sucked to see Burrow. I mean, could you see this injury holding Burrow back a little bit next year? Like probably at least letting him sit like 3 games, because not only was it an ACL, but it was MCL on top of that. I mean, he's gonna have to go through some rough recovery.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that number one pick too. He's your franchise guy. You can't just be rolling him out there gambling with him. I mean, that's your guy. He's gonna win. He could win you a championship in the future if you put enough around him. I mean, he's a absolute stud. Prayers up for Joe Burrow. Hopefully he recovers fast, and we'll see what the Bengals can do without him. But I don't see much because he was the heart and soul of that team.
And another thing I do want to say, if there's anybody to blame here, it's the front office for the Bengals. You know you were going to pick this guy number 1 overall, and yet you still refuse to build an O-line around him. And this is what happens. This is what happens. They get injured, they get sacked 15 million times. Something's bound to happen, especially this year in the 2020 season. Bengals front office, you know what you need to do this offseason, and that's get a fucking O-line, because this is how you waste careers. And a guy like Joe Burrow, who was having a great season, you never want to see this happen to guys. And it really is a shame that Cincinnati really does have to hold him back like this. But let's get into our rewards. Offensive Player of the Week, starting off with Joey here. I want to hear who your guy is. I'm pretty sure we have the same guy, because this guy that I got had an insane week. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was against the Jets, but I'm gonna give it to Keenan Allen, one of my favorite receivers right now. He's playing really good, emerging out of nowhere. He's doing really good this season, 145 yards and a touchdown. And let's just look at these targets. 19 targets, and I believe he had like 16 the last game he played, or not the last game, but I think the game before. This guy, he's getting targeted a ton by Herbert. He's looking like the way he used to be. He's just a stud right now in this offense, and he's going to keep it up. He's one of the most consistent receivers this season overall.
Yeah, Keenan Allen, totally a stat line, 16 receptions, 145 receiving yards, and a touchdown. He would have had an even bigger day if he didn't fumble, though. But either way, Keenan Allen, obviously the Offensive Player of the Week. And then Defensive Player of the Week, you could give it to 2 other guys on the Steelers defense, but I'm going to go with Minka. 5 total tackles, 2 interceptions, 2 pass deflections, a monster day from Minka Fitzpatrick. 4 total interceptions by this Steelers offense. Not a single touchdown given, not a single passing touchdown. I don't know about rushing touchdown, but I'm pretty sure not a single touchdown at all. I'm pretty sure there was just like 3 points scored by the Jags. And a defensive powerhouse of a show up from the Steelers, and Minka really did lead the pack. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Cowboys. Donovan Wilson with 2 forced fumbles and 9 tackles. Those Steelers guys definitely played well. But I mean, I feel like it was the Jags. I mean, it's pretty easy to get. It's easier to get picks than it is to force 2 fumbles in a game. That's just rare. We don't see that much. I had
Let
to give it to him.
alone let alone force Dalvin fucking Cook to fumble. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look back and you see that hit, dude, he hit sticked him, like literally hit sticked him. I mean, I thought Dalvin Cook cracked a couple of ribs on that play. It got me scared, but he was all right. But yeah, Wilson, great game. But let's jump into week 12. We got Thanksgiving this week, so we got a little bit more games to dive into. I'm going to cover all the Thanksgiving games, starting off with Houston versus Detroit. Now, this game for me is a little bit of a toss-up. We've been saying this over and over again. Houston offense has looked great, except for that Cleveland game. That Cleveland game, they just didn't do anything. But this Houston team has looked better, but their defense hasn't. It's really just their offense has looked better. But Detroit, they haven't been all that great as well. I believe they have a better record than Houston, but only by 1 win. What Detroit's been battling with and what they didn't get last week against Carolina was DeAndre Swift and Kenny Galladay. So I feel like Swift will be coming back this week, because I do feel like even though it is a short week, it's a little bit still up there because he's still going through concussion protocol. But another guy I feel like is going to be back this week for Detroit is going to be my guy, Kenny Galladay. So if Kenny is back, if he's not, because, it's Galladay. He's been on and off all season. If Galladay is back for Detroit, give me Detroit over Houston. This offense is different when Galladay is in. This team overall plays better when Galladay is in there, because he's just that type of wide receiver for Detroit. And if Galladay is out and it's just Swift, then give me Houston.
All right, well, I'll take Houston either way if Galladay's there or not. They played really well versus the Patriots last week. The offense looked good. Deshaun Watson putting up a really good game. I think he was the best quarterback on the week. fantasy-wise, stat-wise. I'm not sure, though. He did really well versus the Patriots. And I see him leading the Texans to a win on Thanksgiving.
Who won that game, by the way, between Houston and Pats? I didn't check.
Houston won.
Houston won. All right.
By a touchdown.
What is the Pats record now?
4-6.
4-6. Yeah. Miami's starting to pull ahead there. But all right, next game, Washington versus Dallas. This is going to be a big game for Dallas. Both guys are 3-7. This is going to be an absolute of a game. I really feel like it. Smith has been playing really good alongside Antonio Gibson. I'm going to have the hot hand here. I feel like Zeke is going to be on for a vengeance. It is home game. It is Thanksgiving. I might be wrong on this one, but I don't care. Give me Dallas against Washington to pull ahead for the divisional lead.
This is tough for me, man. I got to think about this. It was a pretty even matchup. It's going to be a pretty good Thanksgiving game, even though neither of the teams are too good. I'll stick with Dallas off that Vikings game. Let's go with Dallas. The football team didn't play their best against the Bengals, but let's just keep with Dallas. I believe in Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's their time.
Because the football team, they've had a good defense, but I mean they're not the best. They give points up. They give a lot of points up. They gave a lot of points up to DeAndre Swift. He completely steamrolled over them. And if this Zach Martin right tackle thing really is as much of a cheat code as it's proven to be, I mean, Zeke got some fantastic looks against Minnesota. It's going to be a tougher matchup. But, yeah, I just don't care at this point. I mean, what else do I got to lose? Another L? I mean, so, yeah, I'm hoping Dallas doesn't disappoint me. And then Baltimore versus Pittsburgh to finish off Thanksgiving night. I can't trust Pittsburgh. I mean, I can't trust Baltimore. They're 6-4. They aren't looking great right now. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, does. Chase Claypool had a great game. Deontay Johnson had a great game. And, easily give me Pittsburgh against this one. It doesn't look great for Baltimore right now.
Yeah, I got to take Pittsburgh easily in that one. But this is one of the games that they could end up losing. Baltimore could sneak a win. If there are any games that the Pittsburgh Steelers could lose the rest of the season, this is one of them. I think there's a few more tough games for them, but it's looking like a 16-0 season for the Steelers. That'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, but I mean, it is in Pittsburgh, so that kind of takes away my confidence for them. And then let's roll into the Sunday slot of games. Tennessee, Indiana, rematch of Thursday Night Football a couple of weeks ago. I would love to see Tennessee win here, but I mean, I like Indiana too much. I mean, I've loved Indiana throughout this entire season, and they put a clinic against Tennessee last time around that they played. And if they can shut AJ Brown down, which I really feel like when AJ Brown is shut down, not really Derrick Henry, of course Derrick Henry as well, but when AJ Brown is shut down like he was against Indiana, I mean, Tennessee doesn't really do much. So I'm gonna go Indiana this week against Tennessee.
I'm going to take Indiana, too. They beat them last time. They're hot right now. They're a good team. Let's go with Indiana.
And then Kansas City versus Tampa Bay for a 4:00 game. This is going to be one hell of a matchup. It depends if Tampa Bay shows up or if Patriots, Tennessee, Tom Brady shows up. I mean, it really just depends on if Tom Brady can stay in and clutch it up because they're going to need a miracle to beat this Kansas City team. Kansas City, on the other hand, I mean, they're Kansas City. They've looked great. They've stayed great. Mahomes probably going to be the MVP like we predicted earlier. I mean, earlier on in the season. So I'm gonna go Kansas City against Tampa here.
It's tough for me. Let's go ahead and roll with the Bucs, man. I want to see the Bucs win. You know I'm not picking against the Bucs. Brady always plays good against the Chiefs. It's just a thing that he does throughout his career. He every time he has a bad game like this, he always bounces back the next week. We've seen it throughout his entire career. The few bad games that he does have, he bounces back the next week. And let's see a bounce back this week, Brady, and get the win for Tampa.
And then, like I mentioned earlier, Eddie Jackson getting COVID is really going to hurt Chicago when they play against Green Bay this week. He's a huge part of this defense. He is everywhere on that field for Chicago, and if they do lose him this week and he can't clear protocols, any sort of chance that Chicago had of shutting something down just flies out the window. But it's not like they were going to do anything. This Chicago offense sucks. The only guys who can do anything on Chicago is Allen Robinson Hell, Jimmy Graham and maybe David Montgomery if he's healthy. And that's a big old maybe because they've proven that even in good matchups, they can't get anything done on offense. So give me Green Bay easily here against Chicago.
Yeah, like you said, Chicago's offense just can't win games. I mean, they like depend on like a Cordero Patterson like kickoff touchdown every game to even be in the game. It's not good, man. You gotta go with the Packers in that game. Easy decision for me.
And then Monday Night Football, mentioned it earlier, Seattle versus Philly. We could see the return of Chris Carson this week, and you never know. Philly could put up a good fight, but Carson Wentz is playing like absolute doo-doo. If there's going to be anybody on this offense to give them any sort of hope, like I said earlier, it's got to be Miles Sanders. It's not one of those things where I think it's going to be. It's got to be Miles Sanders. He's the only guy who has been efficient on this offense. Besides from Fulgham, which even then Fulgham has had 2 horrible weeks. I mean, he put up like 1.8 2 weeks in a row in fantasy. So, I mean, it's easily Seattle here. You can't bet against them, especially against Philadelphia. Like you said, they're possibly one of the worst teams in the NFC East. So easily give me Seattle. Wouldn't be surprised if DK Metcalf just goes up against Seattle. I mean, I believe he had a monster game against them in the playoffs last year. So wouldn't be surprised to see a monster game from him this week.
Yeah, that was like his breakout game where everybody like started to see who DK Metcalf really was last year.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm obviously picking Seattle on this. Like, yeah, I think we should just move on from that easy pick.
But that is all for this week. We got a big action-packed week here for week 12. Really 2 good weeks of football in a row, hopefully. But guys, that's all from us this week. Make sure you tune in tomorrow on Thanksgiving Day. We're going to have you hooked up with everything fantasy, but that's all from us today. Make sure you like the video, sub, turn on post notifications. Thank you for the support recently. See y'all guys tomorrow. Peace.